floating like butterflies and stinging like bees. Rumble, you badass jet pilots, rumble. Welcome to the Wingman Show. My name is Drew Brown, and my man is Paul Thompson that's hanging on with me. What's Paul?
I'm doing pretty good. It's interesting. Sometimes in life, you got to work through problems. We have a little technical difficulty, but we've overcome the difficulties, and we are purging through.
Yeah, it was rough this morning, but guess what? We're here. We're here to do another show. For all you frequent flyers who listen to us all the time and all you new listeners, please write a little review on Apple Podcasts. That would help us out. We're at wingmenshow.com, and our newsletter is here. Dr. Paul Thompson will give you some financial advice, and I'll give you a little life advice with the 11 facts in life. Well, Dr. Paul, the Queen is dead. And there's a new king of England, Prince Harry and Prince Harry and Prince William were back together again with Meghan. And I don't know, it's a big deal here, but what do you think about this royalty thing?
It's different. I think Americans have a very different attitude towards it, because we look at it. I look at it, and others look at it and kind of shrug your shoulders. Always heard about it, but for a lot of people in England, even younger people, it's a big deal. She was a reigning monarch for 70 years, which is a long time. It's a lifetime of probably most people living there. Although she's more of a figurehead. It's interesting that you hear some of the reactions, to her passing, and there's been a lot of grief that's been expressed, and sometimes just the opposite. But I think that's kind of it's a dying thing, in my opinion. There aren't. She's a
great king. She was a great queen, and she was nice and all that. But royalty's bullshit, Paul. I don't know where people think that you're born better than somebody else, but you're not. And I think it's just a bunch of hogwash. I'm not kidding you. Nobody is my king. Nobody is my queen. Only God rules me. And people are not born better than me. You have to work to be good. You have to be smart to rule. You have to be good and prosperous. Being of bloodline means nothing. As a matter of fact, if you're too close to your bloodline, you come out really mentally disturbed.
Right.
Brothers and sisters can't have kids. And that's actually what's happening on the House of the Dragon. They're going to have the Mad King because an uncle and his niece had sex with each other. But the point being, royalty is just not where it's at for me at all. And I don't mean England. I mean all of them. And did you know that England still has 15 Commonwealths? Antigua, Barbuda, Australia, Bahamas, Belize, Canada, Grenada, Jamaica, New Zealand, Papua New Guinea, St. Kitts and Nevis, St. Lucia, St. Vincent, Grenadines, Solomon Islands, Tuvalu, and the United Kingdom are all sovereign to England.
Right. And I think Barbados just pulled out, and a lot of the Caribbean is rethinking it.
Yeah. Well, first of all, you have no power. This is all about figurehead and reliving the past. And I don't think kings and queens have that great of a past.
Yeah, they don't. They don't at all. They've been behind a lot of brutality throughout what you call the third world, definitely all throughout Africa. And now there may be an accounting for that. I think younger people, even in those Commonwealth places, they're not down with that. They're not down with that.
No, it's not going to happen much longer. But you know what is going to happen? Something amazing. Dr. Paul Thompson, you gave out an award in Memphis at a flying club. And guess what the name of the award is? I've received a lot of awards in my lifetime, but I've never had an award that was named after me. Dr. Paul Thompson, you gave out the Paul Thompson Award in Memphis, Tennessee with my friend Albert Glenn. Why don't you tell me a little bit about that? Because that is incredible, Doc.
Yeah, that was weird. I was invited to attend. It's called the Captain Paul Thompson Flight Safety Award, given by the Luke Weathers Flight Academy. It was named after me by Mr. Albert Glenn. He was very, very kind. just from our personal and professional relationship and a few things I had to cope with in terms of aviation. I'm very honored to have it named after me. And I was very honored to present it. It was a very good affair, very good affair. And it was dedicated, it was more than an awards ceremony. The whole day, there was a 2-day program. Really, the one day was concentrated on getting young people to fly. They were going to take 100 girls flying that day. As it was actually rained out. They weren't able to fly that day. It was just the day before was perfect. That day was terrible. And the next day was perfect. They're going to reschedule and fly them. So you had busloads of young people, mostly girls, in attendance. But what was good was they had a lot of presentations from different facets of aviation, not just pilots. There was air traffic, a lot of air traffic control, a lot of maintenance. Some military aviation was a part of it.
Well, didn't the Navy bring some airplanes there?
The U.S. Navy brought 2 airplanes. They brought in a T-44, which is a propeller trainer.
You're showing that right now on the screen for YouTube watchers.
Yeah, it's like a Beechcraft Queen Air. I remember I rode on one once when they were brand new. I think they got them in 77. So these airplanes are, 30, 40 years old. But a beautiful airplane. And then it was followed by a T-45, which is the primary jet trainer. It's the primary and advanced jet trainer. And they came into the approach, came into the break, made a lot of noise, excited people, because this is just a little airport. It's just a small field. And the pilots were nice. I talked to the guy from the T-45, very nice man. They came from Kingsville, Texas, from VT-22. Squadron that I know pretty well. That's the squadron I came out of. We were comparing notes and what they could do, what that airplane could do, what couldn't do. T2 could do a lot more. It was a lot stronger. Very interesting to talk to a much younger person about what was going on. But they were there and they gave a tour of the airplane. There was no big security or anything like that, and you could access. I was just amazed when they parked right there in front of the school. I mean, it's like 20 steps away. 20 steps away, and you could walk right into the hangar. I said, wow, just to have access to something like this. There was a celebrity there. Her name was Karen Parsons. Karen Parsons played Whitley. What was the last name?
On the French Prince of Bel-Air.
It wasn't Whitley. I should know. I'm getting mixed up. I'm getting.
No, she was just Whitley. She was a rich.
No, that was a different
girl.
Yes, she was a rich girl. Very, very, very nice person. Took a picture with you. There'll be a picture there. I apologize. Her name is Karen Parsons, and she has completed a film on Bessie Coleman. Bessie Coleman was the first Black woman to get a license in the U.S. or really fly in the U.S. Circa around the World War I time frame, and she did her own little film on her. Apparently, it's narrated by Lawrence Fishburne. I didn't get to see it. It was premiering yesterday when I was coming back home. And she's already also written a book called Flying Free. Free by Karen Parsons. I ordered the book on Amazon last night. It's supposed to arrive tomorrow. And she was very, very, very nice. Very nice to everybody. And talked about, her growing up and things she didn't know and wanted to learn about all these wonderful people who did so many things. Very, 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 very good.
Well, it seems like you really had a good time there in Memphis.
I did. I'm glad I went.
And you went to see a lot of our old friends in FedEx, all our old Black pilots that we love and care about so much, who have really been frontiermen for this aviation thing. I'm just really proud to know all of them. Yes. Well, let me tell you what I did. I didn't give out an award, but I got a colonoscopy.
Okay. Almost as much fun.
Well, actually, that's what I wanted to talk about, because you brought up toxic masculinity. You talked about men not wanting anybody to touch their butts or something. And let me tell you something. I don't want colon cancer. And God forbid, they had 4 polyps in me. And they're all non-cancerous. They're going to send them away for a biopsy. But the funny thing is, I felt nothing, first of all, because they gave me that Michael Jackson juice, that propofol. So I always try this little game and see how long I can stay up under it. So all of a sudden they switched doctors, not doctors, but anesthesiologists on me. And this new guy came in and he was from New York and he starts talking to me. He put the Michael Jackson juice in that IV. I saw that white liquid go in. I started talking to him. I said, okay, I need to get my thoughts together. And the next thing I know, I was talking to Katrina.
Right.
They had finished it. Everything was done. The doctor had come and gone. I knew nothing of nothing. I'm going to make an appointment in 2 weeks. And we'll talk about the polyps that they sent out for biopsies. Mm-hmm. But I'm very proud of myself. And I hope all the men out there who can hear my voice, your life is the most important thing you have. Your life is the most important thing you have. A colonoscopy is a medical procedure. Right. So I just wanted to do that. And also, I didn't know if you knew this, but I had a bad mark on my record because my last colonoscopy, I didn't really prepare too well. That means it wasn't clear down there and they made mention of it. So I went on a 4-day fast before this one. So it was clean as a whistle.
Yeah, you don't want to get the teacher angry. So we really can't, you really don't have toxic masculinity because they actually took the toxins out of you.
That's correct. But I felt nothing. I know nothing of what they did. That's
you never done.
That's the best part.
Yeah, you tell me.
I got a little test for you. Merriam-Webster just came out with some new words. I'm going to give you a word. You tell me what it means.
Uh-oh.
Sus. S-U-S is a new word in Merriam-Webster.
S-U-S. I'm going to say to sort something out.
Suspect. Man, that brother was sus.
That's new.
He was suspect. Next word. I use it all the time. It's an official word now. Janky.
Oh, I mean, the shaky. I use it all the time. Janky, like our initial broadcast test today was very
correct.
Janky.
What we did this morning was janky.
Yeah.
All right. How about this one? Side hustle.
Well, it's a side gig, which is another term. Side job. Yeah. What's a stack? You're supposed to know that.
That didn't make it yet. That's $1,000. That comes next year on Merriam-Webster.
Okay.
How about baller?
It used to be any kind of athlete. Now it's anyone I think that's doing really, really well. How's that?
It's the life of an NBA player who has money, jewelry, and women. That's a baller. That's what they're saying, a baller.
Primarily. But I've heard it.
No, not in that. You don't have to be an NBA player. That's what your lifestyle.
That's the standard. Okay, that's correct. The standard.
Now the last one, and you actually use this word. I don't know if you knew that. Unbanked.
Oh yeah.
Remember we were talking about the check cashing places?
Yeah. You're unbanked. You don't have no bank. You got no bank.
Yeah. Well, you came up with the new word, unbanked.
No, it's not a word. I heard it. I've heard it before. I heard it on the radio. The unbanked, got no bank. It's like unhoused. You're not homeless. You're unhoused.
That's correct. Mm-hmm. Well, we don't remember people aren't slaves. They were enslaved.
Yeah, it's the same logic. So I can't argue against that too much.
And that's when I asked you, are you a man or a man considered as black by others? Same thing. I'm a man.
Right.
Anyway, let's do this one. New York Yankees. You know, are you a Yankee fan like me?
Not as much. I used to be a Met fan primarily. Because Shea Stadium was close.
Well, it's my only championships. And let me tell you this. You know what COVID did for me, Doc? I don't care about sports that much anymore. Atlanta lost a real bad game yesterday to the New Orleans Saints in the last second once again. And you know what? It just didn't bother me that much. And the Giants really sucked and they were losing and it doesn't bother me that much. And I'm glad I'm free from that fanatic. Because that's what fans are. They're called fanatics.
Right.
And it just didn't bother me that much. And I felt much better about that. But my Yankees, who have 27 world championships, Aaron Judge, first of all, is in a contract year. They didn't want to give him the money that he asked for. So he said, okay, then I'll play this year and you'll pay me what I'm worth. Well, he's almost going to break Roger Maris's record. I think he has 55 home runs right now. Roger Maris was 61.
I remember that, 61. That's a long time ago. I remember. Right. I used to have Roger Maris baseball cards.
That's right. Wow, that's going to be worth something. Roger Maris, 61. And Hank Aaron, to me, is still the home run king because I do not believe in steroids. So you could take Barry Bonds, you can take McGuire and Sosa, who juice themselves up so they could hit the ball further and more often. They don't count to me. And let me tell you why. I've said this a long time ago. 2 black men and a Jew beat Hitler. Jesse Owens, Joe Louis, and Albert Einstein. The Germans said that the white man was superior in mind and in body. And Jesse Owens proved them wrong. If they would have gave one of those German runners steroids, Hitler might have thought he was right. Joe Louis knocked out Max Schmeling during World War II.
Right.
If Max Schmeling would have knocked out Joe Louis again, things might have been different. So I don't believe in steroids. I don't believe in cheating.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you want to put a little asterisk by their names, have at it. But to me, Roger Maris is still the one-year king, and Hank Aaron, my man, is still the home run king. What do you think about steroids and Aaron Judge? And he's going to be a $500 million baseball player.
Probably so. Well, you know, the steroids have a dark history. Yes, cheating, and there are also health consequences to it. If you look at the number of a lot of big-time professional bodybuilders have passed away, like in the last 2 years. May not be totally steroids, but some of the stuff they're consuming is killing them. And the age range varies from like low 20s to mid 50s, male and female.
A lot of professional wrestlers too, Doc.
Professional wrestlers too. Steroid, roid rage. There was a very tragic killing of I won't mention the name, of a very popular wrestler, killed his family.
You can say his name. Wasn't it Benoit?
Benoit, yeah.
From Canada?
I mean,
it's horrible.
And he lived between where you and I live right now.
Wow.
Little city. He's in Fayetteville. I couldn't believe it.
Roid rage, right?
Yeah, roid rage, I said. You know. That's the dark side. And you see some of these pictures, you know, before and after. And some people will get like super muscular, and some will not get muscular at all. And you'll see, you know, some of the guys in the UFC, they're busted for steroids. You know, you look at it, their physique looks like they're eating donuts. So I guess it affects people differently, but they still have, I guess, the physical strength.
These baseball players who would just hit fly balls to the outfield now are home runs because of that extra juice they have.
Yeah.
So see, it's just not fair. But guess what? Apple, you know, I love some Apple. Apple made me a lot of money. I have Apple stock. But Apple's, the new iPhone's coming out. iPhone 14 and the new iWatch is coming out. And for all the women who hear our voice, it is a woman's health watch. They're touting it because it will be able to help you with menstrual cycles. It'll also be able to time ovulation for having children. It's going to have a temperature sensor, so it'll be able to read most of your vitals. This technology is incredible now, Paul.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm going to get one because I'm several. I've got an iPhone 11, which is fine. But usually every time they've got an upgrade, the camera gets a little better.
Oh, it's 48 now, I think.
Oh, really? Okay.
48, yes.
Wow. That, you know, I don't know what the 11 is, which is pretty good because I get good stuff on it. But I may review that.
Well, let me tell you the good thing about this watch, Dr. Paul. If you have a crash in your car, it will signal 911. I don't know how it does it. You have to read more about it. But it will be able to tell you high impacts to that watch, and it will simulate that you've been in a car crash, which can obviously save your life.
Yeah, that's great. And I saw a late night comedian had a thing on it, and he's like in a car crash, and Apple's saying, you know, he's so-and-so's been in a car crash. And he was exceeding the speed limit by 10 miles an hour, and he's weaving on the road. And the watch is telling him to is give him more data, which is probably possible because remember, you get these rental cars. I don't know if they still do it, but if you exceeded the speed limit, it would report you. And the rental-car company was charging money and not
what? They were charging you for speeding?
I think so. Yeah. They were going after you after you rented the car.
Wow.
So
you know what that brings? That brings a Wingman PSA. The 11 facts in life. Fact number 1: in order to be successful, Wake up, show up, and pay attention. Control your emotions. Be honest, open-minded, and willing to change. Fact number 1, wake up, show up, and pay attention. That's the beginning to success right there. You got to get your ass out of bed. You got to have somewhere to go, and you get there on time.
Yeah. Get your blood moving. That's important. Not just sitting around being angry or feeling sorry for yourself. Get moving.
Let's talk about flying here for a second, because you and I both flew airplanes, and we had automatic pilots on our airplanes. Well, United just bought 200, what do they call, electric air taxis that people will be able to go to the airport now. They're all electric. They're going to fly 200 for 15 million, which comes out to, I think, 75,000 a piece. And I don't know if they're going to have a pilot in it. I'm not sure, but they have bought them and they're ready to use these. It's kind of like drones, I guess. What do you think about automatic pilots? And do you have any experiences? Because I got a couple.
Well, I don't know, but I bet they're going to be unmanned. I read something a couple of years ago about coming up with basically an unmanned, a vertical Uber that'll take you.
Yes.
Obviously they'll be on a system and they'll be programmed not to slam into each other. That'll be quite a thing. I've flown some pretty sophisticated airplanes, and at one point or another, every one of them is turned the wrong way. And you had an autopilot on? With the pilot on, yeah, I just got confused. And someone needs to be there and had to basically physically intervene. The thing made a mistake.
Well, in the Navy, we used to call it George. We used to say George is flying.
George. And then commercial airlines too. They say call it George. George is the autopilot. And George is very good.
George is great in the commercial field, but when I flew in the Navy, they put an autopilot on my A6 to do a automatic carrier landing. And it was the prettiest landing you ever seen until the end. And if I let it continue, I would have killed all the LSOs. It was moving that slowly over to the left. Right. And as I took it around, they were yelling, wave off, wave off, wave off. But it was the scariest moment because it looked beautiful all the way down, almost to touchdown.
Yeah, well, that
almost killed me, but I'm sure it's evolved since then.
Oh, it's evolved tremendously. I mean, you're old.
I'm not old. I'm 17 years old with 50 years experience, Dr.
There you go. It's some of that stuff was pretty rough. I don't hear people coming aboard now talking about it. They just sort of land. They don't have a lot of stories. Everybody has nights of the boat, but the technology has improved significantly.
Well, how about this one? Let me throw this in there for you. They have just come out with a brain implant for people who are paralyzed. They've inserted something in their brain that can control objects with their thoughts. What about that one?
That has a lot of promise for people who have serious injuries. I'm going to guess you can talk to Dr. Drew about it, but probably particularly people who have spinal cord injuries, I'm going to imagine. We're going to be able to do a lot more things that might have been, impossible. They have more fuller lives. And for those who are, more fully able-bodied, they may be able to just do all kinds of things in a combat realm. I can see that being used in airplanes and other just weapons that, over here, over there. Particularly if you've got a technology now where you can put on a helmet and you can see everything above you, behind you, beside you. Quicker than grabbing something and pushing it, you might think such and such a weapon over there.
You might actually think fire.
Fire, yeah, fire. Or maybe the system will do it for you. You don't think at all.
Left when you're approaching the aircraft carrier.
Yeah, the theory.
Come left.
The theory was that you'd have maybe a mix of manned and unmanned aircraft actually going into combat with the system.
I definitely believe one day it's all going to be drones.
Yeah,
they're not going to even put pilots up there anymore.
Yeah, I think there may not even be people involved. Whoever has the best, robots wins.
That's right.
It's the war is conducted by middle school kids, who are the sharpest at the stuff, it seems.
That's true. Well, talking about middle school kids, talking about kids at all, the Paul Thompson Award was given to someone that I think you're going to name our Wingman of the week.
Yes.
Why don't you tell me about him?
Yes, I was happy. I was proud to give the award to Mr. Osadai Farrell. From a place he's from St. Croix.
Wow.
Yeah, Osadai Hill, right? But a nice young man. I don't know his age. He looked to be about maybe 22 or so, trying to get on with airlines. And he was a flight instructor at the Luke Weathers Flight Training Center in Olive Branch, Mississippi. It's near Memphis.
What did he do to get the award?
One day he was out. Basically, he had an engine failure. And he wasn't near an airport, wasn't near a runway, and he put it down in the field.
But he was in a single-engine airplane.
It's a single-engine airplane, yeah. And I can tell you from personal experience, if you're flying a single-engine airplane and you have a problem with that single engine, you have a problem.
His A7 had one engine, and he flew some of the hairiest missions you could ever imagine. Dr. Paul, you get it for a badass pilot.
Right.
But what you did is really badass. And when I say float like a butterfly, sting like a bee, Rumble, you badass jet pilots, you're right up there in front of me as a badass jet pilot.
I appreciate that. Well, this young man, he landed the airplane, landed in an unprepared field, and he did in such a way there was absolutely no damage to it, which is like that almost never happens. You expect something. Nothing. No damage.
Did he have a student?
He did have a student.
Wow.
He wasn't injured. The student wasn't injured, and nobody on the ground was injured. I don't know who was around. And Albert said I think they just carted the airplane off. They brought it back, and they washed off a little mud, and that was it. No accidents, no report, no nothing. That doesn't happen often. And this guy, he was there. Didn't see him before. Presented it to him when he came up, and there'll be a picture of him up there with me presenting it to him. And he was humble. He said, "I'm surprised. I didn't expect this. I didn't expect to get anything. It was a surprise to him," which was really
Dr.
nice.
Dr. Paul, most great people are humble.
Yes. Oh, he's very humble, very quiet. And the good thing about it was, it was well attended. There were a lot of people there, and most of the people were from the city of Memphis. And just prior to that, a couple of very high-profile murders were committed there within a few hours of this presentation. And the mood of the city... That
got national news. Yet a young man who got the Paul Thompson Award got nothing.
And I mentioned that in my remarks.
But yes, they did. They got something on the Wingmen Show.
That's true if they're looking at it. Which I did a shout out to the Wingmen Show. You'd have been proud of me on the mic, and I had the QR code. People scanned it, so we'll get a few more.
Well, good, Dr. Paul. I pray for peace.
I pray for peace too, and congratulations to Mr. Osadai Farrell for earning the Captain Paul Thompson Flight Safety Award at the Luke Weathers Flight Training Facility in Olive Branch, Mississippi.
Thank you once again, Dr. Paul Thompson, my friend. Thank you for your love, your time, and that's something that we won't ever get back. I want to thank all the listeners, too. Thank you so much for doing the show, Dr. Paul. We're jamming.
Well, thank you, Mr. Drew, for inviting me on. Always good to talk to you. And ladies and gentlemen, please remember to like, share, and subscribe to this podcast or any of the podcasts. If you're looking at YouTube, they say smash the like button. Don't smash it. Just press it gently and use as a link to all your friends. You can also look at us on our website, wingmenshow.com, WINGMEN show, SHOW.com, altogether, wingmenshow.com. And we hope to see you in the future. Thanks again, Mr. Drew.
Oh, you're welcome. And we're still floating like butterflies and stinging like bees. Rumble, you badass jet pilots, rumble. May there be peace on earth and goodwill towards all men and women.